everybody. Welcome back to the It Takes Grit podcast. You are going to be blown away at today's episode because I have got my dear friend Cayla Craft on this episode. We live together actually in Newport Beach. We do meditations together. We go for walks together. We only lived about 15 minutes apart. And anytime that I was in her presence, I just knew that I was with an absolute badass. She is no shit. She is no bullshit. And she's just an absolutely incredible human being. And I'm so grateful to have her on the podcast today. So Cayla Craft, welcome to the show.
Okay, I'm so excited to be here. And we were kind of going down memory lane before the show started. And one of my favorite memories from you is when you actually launched your book. And like just seeing you do that and absolutely slay it, and just the level of just not perfection, but just like ambition that you've always played at, like a very high level, you just go for it, was really inspiring to me when I launched my book. So thank you for just always, you kind of like, you went first, and I was like, okay, Rebecca can do it. I can do it.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to talk about your book as well today because I remember seeing an Instagram video of you like in New York with it like up on a billboard. I was like, this is so sick. But tell everybody, like Cayla, a little bit about your background and where you came from, and just like a rough little story about how you got to where you are today. We're going to really dive in because Cayla, if you guys are watching or you're listening and you're scared about making a pivot or you're scared about change, this is going to just completely change your mindset, because this incredible woman is like pivoted change. She can rebuild anything from the ground up like a million times before because she's learned the skills. And I bet my money on her every time. So Cayla, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So I was raised by a single mom. When I was about 5 years old, my dad went to rehab for the first time, and then he ended up in jail shortly after that. And so he was pretty much absent from my childhood, and he still struggles with addiction today. And so I've had to do a lot of like healing work on like abandonment and rejection issues and all that kind of stuff. And in saying that, it's important because when I started in sales, when I was like 18, 19 years old, I was able to just be successful in sales. Like, even though it was hard, I figured out the skill of selling. And I heard no all the time, but I just didn't let it get to me. And I think it's because of everything I went through in my childhood. Like if I could be rejected by like the number one guy that's supposed to be there for me, I can handle this. And I want to point that out to everybody listening in right now, because, whatever your struggle has been, whether it was like me being abandoned by your dad, or maybe any type of trauma that you experienced, how can you turn that, pain into power? And that's really what I started to do. I realized I was good at sales and that I had this ability to kind of just bounce back, I fall on my face, but I'd get back up. And I found network marketing, similar to you and a lot of your people listening in right now. I found network marketing, and that's like getting an MBA very quickly. You got to learn all of the things to do and not to do. And I probably did all of the things wrong in the beginning. And I eventually did enough right to where I made $1 million by the time I was 26. And I had, 2 kids at that point. And then I looked around at my life and I was like, like, I'm not really happy. So I have everything I've ever wanted. I'm the first millionaire in my family. I have my dream home, the kids, and I was pregnant with my third one. And I was like, gosh, there's got to be more than just this. And I got into coaching, and really coaching, I feel like, has been the thing that God has been calling me to do all along. Network marketing was kind of like the catalyst to bring the coach Cayla out. And now that she's here to stay. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, is coaching people on just how to be successful, not only in business, but just in their entire lives. I've really found a lot of peace and joy helping people have healthy marriages, helping people be better parents. And, on top of that, like, your business kind of just grows when you're growing as a person. And so that's a little bit about me. And I could go on about all those topics,
Yeah. And tell us before, because you were also a nurse, correct? Like you
Oh yeah, I kind of just breezed past that whole situation. I was just like, yeah. I did. I was a nurse. I became a charge nurse in the ER by the time I was 21, which is crazy because, most people are just figuring out what they want to do with their life, not even at that point. And I remember I was a charge nurse and I was like leading people that were older than me. And it's important that I point that out because actually the manager of that emergency room was the one that was like, "You have leadership potential. Like, I'm going to put you on as a charge nurse." And I was like, what did you just smoke? Like, are you serious? Me, little 21-year-old Cayla? Like, why? She's like, there's just something about you. And I got put into that position. People didn't take me seriously, especially the doctors. Like, who's this girl? But
Mhm.
I just made it happen and was rocking it and eventually went like full time into that thing. And it's important because when you see somebody, have a light in them, don't put it out. Like, be the person that, blows the flame and makes it light up. And that's what she was for me, like the first person to call me a leader. And then I was able to see myself as a leader. And so I just want to remind anybody listening in right now, take those little moments, to like, if you see something and somebody, speak life over them, because you never know how that could change the whole trajectory of somebody's life. Right. So she called me a leader. I got into network marketing. I was already in the mindset of I'm a leader, right? At 23 years old. And so then, of course, I ended up leading a team of 90,000 people to have massive success.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. And so what do you tell someone who like doesn't already have that I'm a leader in my head, but they want to have something that they don't already have? Right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'd love to be like you, Cayla. Like, oh, I'd love to have all of that. I'd love to be the leader. I'd love to have 90,000 people in my organization. But like,
Right.
how do you make that? How do you say like, okay, well, I'm actually going to be a leader and then I'm going to figure out the skills?
Well, it's always about the story that you're buying, right? So everybody that we come into contact with has their own agenda, right? Like, I have my agenda for being on this podcast. Rebecca has her agenda for having me on the podcast. Like, we all have our own agenda. Make sure you're buying your agenda today.
Mhm.
So if you want to be a leader, okay, what's the story you need to buy into today? It's that, like, hey, nobody's born a natural leader, right? It's that comes through development. The reason why she saw leadership qualities in me was because I knew how to lead myself. I was literally graduated with my bachelor's degree in nursing at 21 years old. Like, that's a leadership quality because I had to have the self-discipline in order to do that. Like, I didn't spend my, early years partying. I was like getting it done. So she spoke that out in me. It wasn't like I was like, boss babe or anything like that. It was literally just that I was a disciplined person. And so you've got to find those qualities that you have that are already working for you and, fan the flame on them, get better and better at them. I'm very much in the camp of don't focus on your weaknesses because I just think that's a complete waste of time. Like, figure out what it is that you're good at and then get really, really good at it. Okay. So I am a very disciplined person. Rebecca is a very disciplined person. And, you just learn to take that skill and go, how do I turn this into a monetization, stream? So buy your agenda, strengthen your skills. Those are the two things I would say you need to focus on. And if you're not where you want to be, stop watching everybody else be where they want to be. We spend too much time watching people kill it. We're like, oh my gosh, look at Rebecca's abs. Like, gosh, she looks amazing. Go get yourself abs. Stop staring at hers. Like, use that as the inspiration and go and like take her app and go and like do the things she says to do. Stop watching. Get off the sidelines and start making it happen.
I love that. You just taught me something, right? I knew I was going to learn from you today, but like buying your own agenda, right? It's like buying the story. So
Yes.
when you were a nurse and then you found network marketing, like how did you navigate the two? Because did you have kids at that age? Like how did you manage to navigate having a new business, also being a nurse, and then starting a family?
So yeah, really great question. I look back on it now and I'm like, I did not navigate that well, like at all, because I had nobody to model after. Like, my mom again was a single mom. She wasn't successful, struggled with money her entire life. Chase, he had parents that were really great, awesome people, but they weren't entrepreneurs. And they especially didn't understand the online social media world. So they're like, why are you taking a photo of your food? This is back in like 2011. This was not normal to take photos of your food. Now it's like weird if you don't, right? But back then, like I was really creating and blazing my own trail. And that's important for anybody listening in right now. Like most of you that are listening into this podcast, you are probably the black sheep of your family. You probably have always kind of felt like, maybe you didn't fit in with everybody because God made you differently for a reason. Like you're supposed to do something new. And so just kind of keep leaning into that. But I had a 1 year old when I got started in network marketing. And I was pregnant with my second child at that point, plus working, full time as a nurse. And my husband's working full time as well. And my first goal was to make $2,000 a month because then I could go part time as a nurse. So would take care of those extra shifts. So I did that in my first month. And then I go, okay, well, what would it look like to go per diem? So per diem is where you just pick up like 1 to 2 shifts a month. And then the next month, I made more than I had ever made as a nurse. And I was like, whoa, like, I'm not going to wait. Like, I'm putting in for per diem, like, boom, I'm per diem. And people are like, whoa, like, what if it goes away? What if it, I'm like, I'll be fine. Like, I have my nursing license. I can always do something else. But, I went to per diem and then it gave me more time to, do the things with the people I love. But really back then it was absolute chaos because I was about to have that second baby. I was at that point making 6 figures in network marketing and I have a 2 year old now and I have a team. I think it was like, probably 10,000 people that first year. It grew like crazy that first year. And all these people are going, okay, Cayla, like, what do we do next? I'm like, oh, I got to learn what to show these people to do next. Like, I got to teach what I've been doing. And so then I really gained the skill of communication. I didn't have that before, I don't think. And so I really focused on communicating, but I did it. I mean, I'd have a baby on my hip and, Cooper would be right there alongside me. I traveled all over the country with them. We were flying first class and like, Charlie was like a month old and she was flying us to go and do these parties all over the country. And same with Channing, who's my 10-year-old now. He experienced a little bit of that, but I just always found a way to include them with me. So they've never really known mom having a normal job. Now I'll say this because this is really kind of like a key thing here. I was making a lot of money. Charlie was a baby and I was scared to leave nursing. And like so much of my identity was wrapped up in this degree. There might be people listening in right now too. You have letters next to your name. Like you worked hard for that. And then all of a sudden you're like following a completely different path than you ever thought possible for your life. And at what point does it make sense to completely pivot and go into the new path, that you didn't even imagine a few years ago, maybe even a few months ago, right? And so I kept nursing until I was about 26. Like I had made $1 million and I was still working as a nurse per diem, right? Like doing little side things here and there. But it was really important for me to hold on to that. And then it just got too stressful for my family. Like, why are we doing all of these things? Like I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go do a shift. And Chase is like, have you seen our bank account lately? Like, you don't need to go and do this, I was like, gosh, like, you're right. And I had this whole identity crisis. And I figured out, like, listen, at the end of the day, like that network marketing company can go down to zero tomorrow. But like, I know I have the skill of selling. I have the skill of communication, team building, social media branding. That can all go away tomorrow, but those skills will always stay with me. My experience will always stay with me. The skill of leading nurses and all that stuff, that's with me now. So I'm so much more valuable in the marketplace. If I had to do it over again, I'll do it faster. And again, buying my agenda, right? So now I know I want to be financially free forever. I never want to struggle with finances. I want to have time freedom as well. And so I know the skills in order to have that. And so I finally walked away from nursing when I was 26 because people were like talking at that point, like, is it real? Like, why is she still working as a nurse? Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm like driving my G-Wagon up to, go and do these like 4 o'clock a.m. shifts. You're like, what's happening? Anyway, but we all have those identity crises because we place so much importance on what it is that we do, right? Instead of who we are. Like you're going to take you wherever you go. So like your experience and your knowledge and expertise, like you are always going to have that no matter what life throws your way, you're still going to be valuable tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. And I have a couple of nurses that are in my head right now that are been doing it and they love it, but it's underpaid and the hours are crazy and they're ready to
Right.
change. And I always say like it's short-term choices for long-term goals, right? You had to like work the shifts for being a nurse, but you had to fit people don't realize, I don't think, how much time they actually have. I think a lot of times people go, I don't have time for this. And then if I was to follow you around, I'm pretty sure if Cayla and I were to follow you around by arm, we would be able to find loads of pockets of 15 minutes that you could build a business if you wanted to. So you must have been
Totally.
really great at utilizing your time during that period.
Right. Yeah. I think that, the old saying was, if you want something done, give it to a busy person,
Mm,
because we just have learned how to prioritize the things that are important to us. Right. And you have to understand what your priorities are. Are your excuses a priority? Most people have made their excuses a priority because in reality, it's really their comfort zone. Like, I'm not willing to experience any level of pain in order to experience a new life and what it is that I truly desire. The pain of, making time is you got to say no to other things. Right. So I was saying no to, the nurses would always go out for margaritas on Tuesday nights. I'd be like, sorry, not going. I'm going home. I'm having a party. I'm selling shakes tonight. Like, you guys want to come? We're going to make money. And people are like, no, we're going to for Taco Tuesday, so it's little things like that that add up. Like, you say no to those things that like are actually taking you away from your destination. And they seem a little bit like hurtful in the moment because people are mad at you, right? So you feel those stings. Now it's like, I barely remember those people's names. And I'm not saying that in a mean way, but it's just so, I mean, I've lived 10 lifetimes since then. That's why I forgot to even bring up the nurse thing. I'm like, oh yeah, that happened too. So, you got to be willing to know, what is it that I want to give up in order to go up. Right. And I was willing to give up time with people maybe that weren't really my true friends, and weren't really going to be a part of my actual destiny.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I mean, you are who you surround yourself with. And
Yeah.
one thing you said earlier was Jim Rohn's quote is that if you become more valuable to the marketplace, you'll earn more money. It's just becoming more valuable and learning those skills. So after network marketing, then you made another pivot and started to do the coaching. How did that kind of transition?
I had really understood how to monetize this personal brand, just like you, like how, okay, what is a personal brand and how do you monetize it? And so I started to teach that to other people. And that's really how I got started in coaching. I would find other small business owners in my local community and I was teaching them. And then people would continue to just kind of, ask me for help after I was posting about my clients' success. And it just continued to grow and grow from there. And now I focus more on just like the holistic person, right?
Yeah. What do you find the biggest challenges for women when they're starting a business? Like, is it the selling? Is it marketing? Is it the objections? Is it the no's? Like, what do you find is like the biggest hindrance that people have that stop them from being successful?
Overthinking.
Mm.
Overthinking. You probably see this all the time too. It's just, like they're getting ready to get ready to get ready because they're waiting for the perfect circumstance, the perfect writing, the perfect logo, the perfect photo. And I'm like, stop waiting for perfect. I am so much in the camp of done is better than perfect. If I get an idea, I'm just going to put it out there because
Mhm.
the reason, and this is why you always see me doing new things, because it's like the marketplace will tell you if your idea is good or bad. So why am I going to sit here, ruminate on a logo and a website and a new photo shoot to find out 6 months and $100,000 later that my idea was bad, that nobody's going to actually buy it? Now I just put it out there like as a concept and a little tiny, like, website with very little copy, no logo, an old photo of me. Okay. And people will tell me very quickly, I freaking love this idea, by transacting money with me, or they'll be like, no, fell flat, Cayla. I'm not going to buy it. Right.
Mhm.
So I'm very much in that camp. Like, I'd rather be up in the sky, like building the plane as we're flying, than like being down here on the ground like getting ready, like what they're doing right now with like trying to get to space. You know, it's like they continue to try and try and try and nobody's getting up to space. So anyway, that's
So, yeah, you do exactly what I do. You plan, do, review. You
yeah.
plan it, you do it, and then you just review it. Did it work? Did it not? I'm like, yep, that was a definite no. Nobody was interested in that.
Yeah,
And
you
nobody
just
even
put it
knows
together
anyway.
perfect. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Perfect. Plan, do,
Plan,
review. I'm taking that.
plan, do, review. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's just, I love speaking to other people who are just go for it. It's always like, just start messy, right? We so often want everything to be like just perfect, and we think that someone's gonna. I said most people are judging themselves. They're too busy. They're not going to judge
Oh my
you.
gosh.
They're so busy judging themselves and what they're doing. They don't even care about that. So you just told
100%.
me that you are making a big family move from Orange County all the way to Minnesota. Tell us about that and how you make these decisions in your life. Because again, I love talking about pivots, right?
Yeah.
This episode is about how you just pivot. Why are you moving?
I'm still in denial about it. So I'm like, oh yeah, I am doing that. So I actually have a whole series about it on my YouTube. If anybody wants to go watch it, it's Crafted Entrepreneur, Cayla Craft. You can watch it on YouTube because it's actually my husband and I. So Chase, you know Chase.
Yeah.
We've traveled together and all the things. And Chase and I have been married for 16 years, which is crazy. And we have a 14, 11, and 9-year-old. And my 14-year-old is going into high school. He's been playing elite hockey for the last like 7 years. And it's his life. I mean, he loves it. And it's also in the process become Chase's life as well, because he travels pretty much every other weekend all over the country to take Cooper to all these tournaments. Like he's leaving for Pittsburgh in 2 days. And he was just gone 2 weeks ago. Like they're just constantly gone. Because that's the way that California hockey is. There's just not a lot of competition here. So they got to travel where the competition is, right? Where they're putting on great tournaments. And we just decided like this last fall, it was really hard on our family because I have 2 younger kids, 11 and 9, that are also just as busy, like, but they're in basketball, lacrosse, plays, singing, worship, like they're in so many different things. And Chase didn't get to see any of it because he was just gone with Cooper. So it kind of felt like it was like 3 versus 2. They were living their life and we're living our lives. And we're like, wait, we didn't work this hard to like live separate lives. Like we love each other. Like we want to spend time together as a family. And so we're like, okay, what could solve that problem? And I never knew it was going to be this. But Chase comes to me one day and he's like, I think we need to move to Minnesota. And I'm like, yeah, over my dead body. Like that will not happen. There's no way. I am an Orange County girl through and through, beach girl, just like I love being next to water. And I was like, absolutely not. No. But my husband's a really great salesperson and he continued to sell it like every single day. And I just kept praying about it because I'm like, you know what? Like he's very passionate and convicted that this is the right choice for our family. So the thing about Minnesota is you don't have to really travel. It's all within the Twin Cities area. There's so much competition that it's just like you'll drive 30 minutes and have a game. Like you don't have to get on a plane and miss school and be away from the family. Like we can be together. Because he, really wants to go pro. So anyway, that was like, wow, like that lifestyle seems amazing of just not having to travel as much. And so it continued to grow on me. And I just kept praying, God, like, please keep me here. Like, like I would like shut the door, God, shut the door. And God kept opening doors, like door open, door opened. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it kind of was like, all right, at this point, I just need to submit to Chase, stop fighting it. If he's feeling this passionate about it, even though I don't have a vision for it, I was like, I'm just going to say yes to him leading our family. He feels this passionate about it. And it was honestly, it's the hardest decision I've ever had to make in our marriage because I've very much always been like, here's what we're doing. And to have Chase,
Oh.
like, he's not like, we're going or we're leaving you. It's just more like, like, I really think we need to do this. And I was like, okay, like, then I'm going to follow you. And so we're in that, like, we kind of unknown. It's crazy because I know people there because of thankfully because of network marketing. I have a community everywhere, I feel like. So, and that's actually one of the coaches that Cooper's going to play for is somebody that we knew from Isogenics 10 years ago, which is wild, right? Or 11 years ago. So, and he's just been like following Cooper's journey this whole time. So we're moving there, our family of 5, and, it's a season. I'm really selling it to the younger kids. It's an adventure. We'll come back in 4 years when Cooper's done with high school because love California. I wanna be here forever, and so we're just trying to, make the most of it and go like, "Okay, well, we're gonna, be like ice fishing people or something like that. We're gonna have fun," and, we couldn't find a house. That was the only thing that was like, "Ah, we can't find a house." And, about a month ago, a piece of land popped up, and it was where you have views of the lake, 360
Wow.
degree views of the lake. So water, right? And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we flew out there and I saw the property and I was like, "Okay, well, if I could have this land, for the next 4 years, then I can live here." Right? Like I don't ever even need to leave my house over here. So we decided to build, and we're probably gonna have the most expensive house in this little tiny town. But I'm like, just so it's like my investor brain is like, this is the worst investment that you could make because it's like, it's gonna be hard to sell this house. But also at the same time, it's like that part of like, I'm not gonna just suffer through the next 4 years. Like, I'm gonna love where I live. We
Mm.
need to have you know how it is. Like, environment is everything, especially when you are an entrepreneur and you work from home. So I need to be in luxury. I need to be in beauty. So I'm just gonna create it. And then I'm just like praying now. I'm like, there's going to be somebody else that needs to move here from California in like 5 years and they're going to buy the house off of us. So I'm just kind of like speaking life over everything. And I think that's one thing that I'm really good at is like, just speak life over it, speak
Yeah.
life over it. And if it's not for you, God will shut the door and there will be something better for you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm excited for you. It's just an adventure. Like you said, it's 4 years, right? It's not forever. And
We
the
know how fast that goes too,
so
right?
fast. And it's so beautiful that you've created such an incredible business that you do have the flexibility and the
Right.
freedom to be able to go do that. How do you and Chase work together? Because I know that there's lots of people that maybe the women got started first of all in network marketing, and then the man's like, "What are you doing?" And then how do you navigate like roles in and working together?
Okay. So what's so crazy is, yeah, Chase was working for his family business. And then, I was making $1 million a year. He was working like 70 hours a week. I was pregnant with our third kid. And I was like, you've been absent for the last two. Like, come home. And he was like, that's kind of sounds amazing. Like, I want to come home. And so he quit his family business, which it was like a lot of drama because he was his dad's succession plan, and we still own shares in the company and all that stuff. And so it was a really hard decision for him to make, but ultimately, like, he wanted to be home with us. But then when he found himself at home, being Cayla Craft's husband, and he talks about this on our podcast too, it was like he went through a depression. He really did. He was like, who am I? And like, what am I doing here? What's my purpose? And so he helped me build Mommy Millionaire. And I couldn't have done it without him because he is such a good like manager of people. And I like that is one thing. Like, I'll tell you how to manage people, but I can't manage. Like, I don't want to manage people, you know? So he really helped me build out that whole team and really just like killed it. But what he found in us building Mommy Millionaire was there was a need for personal development loans. And he started a company about 3 years ago called My Abundant. And he is helping coaches, make coaching basically more accessible to their clients by providing payment plans for people. And he'll do upfront funding for the coaches. So if they're trying to scale via ads, it's really helpful to have that upfront funding. And his business, I don't even know if you know this, Rebecca, it is like taken off. He's making way more money than me now. And it's crazy because like 2 years ago, I made a reel. Like, it's one of those reels that like didn't live well, but I'm keeping it up because it's like embarrassing for me and it's great because it's good to show people how you evolve, right? But I'm like, I think it's gonna be a long, long time. And the text on screen is when my husband will make more money than me, you know? And I'm like, okay, that did not age well. Uh, but I'm so proud of him because really what network marketing did for us is it changed the trajectory of our lives. It gave us space to really decide what is it that we want to do. Me, I want to go into coaching. Him, he has found out that he loves finance. And, we even do cash advances for small businesses, where, like we'll give them loans and things like that. He loves everything finance and working with numbers. and he's just completely taken off with it. I feel like I'm like Chase Craft's wife now in the coaching industry. Like everybody knows who Chase is, and he's helping so many people. Everybody's so happy with him. And it's all because he had that space, right? To go like, okay, well, if I'm not doing it, like he didn't do it for money. He didn't do this. Like it's actually costed us a lot. He didn't do it like I have to do this for my family. He did it because he wanted to do it. He saw a need and then he's solving that need, and it's helping a lot of people. So
Oh, I'm so
so proud
happy
of him.
for him. Tell him well done from me. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, to make more money than you, because you're a strong-willed, independent, powerful woman, he must be like, ha ha, gotcha.
He's so not like, he's not like that at
Yeah.
all, but
Yeah.
he's like my little golden retriever, and I
I
love
know.
him.
He's lovely. He's so lovely. Yeah. But he must feel good though. Like he's
Oh,
feeling like he feels good that what he's doing is working and it's evolving
yep.
and it's growing. I mean, who doesn't? So between the two of you, you're just killing it. Do you guys work together at all in your businesses, or do you keep everything very separate?
Now that he has my abundant, he has a whole team he runs, and I'm completely not into that. He hosted a retreat a couple months ago and he had me come speak at it for his employees and stuff like that. But other than that, like I am not involved whatsoever in that whole world. And I think it's best that way.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't do anything with me anymore. And I think it's nice. I don't see us not ever doing something together again, but for now he's building his thing. He's focused on that. And I'm trying actually in my business right now, how do I have the least amount of overhead? Like, how do I help the most amount of people with the least amount of people on my team? That's the game I'm playing right now because I've
Yeah.
decided I've had so many employees and I'm like, I don't really like it. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that,
We want
especially right now
profit,
with having
right?
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you want profit. It's like, okay, what's the bottom line, right? You
Right.
start to add team members and you have an employee and you have this person and it's great, but then you're like, okay, my bottom line is
Right.
disappearing. Tell me about your book, okay? Because how long has this been in the making for? I was so excited to see that you were in New York, but tell me all about the book. What do you really want?
Yeah, it's so good. So
I
it's been
love
in the making for a few years. It just went public a month ago, which is so fun. So you can get it anywhere where books are sold. It's called What Do You Really Want? 7 Questions to True Meaning, Connection, and Abundance. And it's really my coaching method that I take a lot of my clients through. So there's a lot of stories in the book around people making pivots or, people that were stuck at a certain income level and then they went through the take 7 and are starting to see results and are just so much happier and more joyful. So that's the point of the book is that people would have a tool to coach themselves every single morning to start getting what they really want in life and really dissect the things that you want. Like, here I am and I have this big business with all these employees and, so much overhead that's like keeping me up at night. Like, that launch has to go well because we have X, Y, and Z to pay. And it's like, I'm like, oh, do I really want this? And it was actually like in that moment where I was like, I don't really want this. Like, I'm actually okay with having smaller months and smaller launches if everything's organic and I get to take home 98% of it. Like, I like that model a whole lot better than what I'm currently dealing with right now. And I had to have an ego death in that because I knew I wasn't going to be able to pull those big numbers, without really having everything else to go along with it.
Mhm.
so, um, so it's hard to kind of sometimes accept what it is that you really want because I talk about this in the book because you might have this beautiful life, right? And like me, I had a beautiful life even as a nurse. We had a great life. And here I am going, okay, here's our life. It's a stack of papers of all the things we've accomplished and done. And I'm going to throw it in the fire, literally burn it to the ground, and we're going to do something different. It takes a lot of courage to throw things into the fire and say, I want something new because there's people's feelings that are going to be hurt, people's like Chase's, parents. It's like they took it personally that we wanted something different and they had to deal with that. But the thing that got us through was like really like we have to follow our own path and our own calling and they're on their own journey, and we can't keep living our lives because of somebody else's agenda. We've got to do what we feel God wants us to do. And now it makes perfect sense why everything happened the way it did. Like us moving to Minnesota, we wouldn't have been able to put Cooper in this position to really succeed, right? Had we been tied to a brick and mortar business, had I still been a nurse, like people here that we're moving, they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that for my son.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
think
mean,
so.
every single person's like so happy for Cooper because they're like, oh, I wish I could do that for my son because they know what a big opportunity it is. And we're like, wow, like I didn't even, you kind of start to take for granted your life because I mean, I've had such a good life for 13 years being an entrepreneur,
Becomes normal.
and it's normal. It's become normal to even my kids. Right. And so I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, God knew that this was going to happen 13 years ago. And that's why he started to set us on this path. And, you know, you got to kind of just trust the process.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's people that live in your neighborhood that earn the same money as you, but they're tied to, you know, they're a doctor or they're tied to something that's like they can't move. But you've set yourself up so successfully that you get to do that for your kids. I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of people use their kids as the reason why not, instead of using them as the reason why. Like, oh, I can't do this because I've got kids, or I can't do this because, you know, I got my kids here. It's like, no. Use them as your motivation, which you guys clearly have done, and putting your kids first. I'm so excited for him. He's going to have a great experience.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And to everybody listening in right now that really, you know, use your kids as an excuse right now, or maybe you don't even realize you're doing it. But if you go through the Take 7 method, you know, in my book, really finding out like, what is it that you want for your family? What type of legacy do you want to create for them? We don't take enough time to really take a step back and really say like, gosh, like, how do I want my kids to live? Like, do I want my kids to be overthinkers and have perfection paralysis when they're older? Well, if the answer is no, you've got to do something different now because your kids are modeling you. They're seeing you take the messy action, which is going to inspire them to take messy action as adults, which is always going to help them create forward movement.
Yeah, gosh, I'm so glad that you said that. Absolutely amazing. Where can everybody find you, follow you, get the book?
So my podcast is called Crafted Entrepreneur. I'd love for everybody to listen in over there. I need to have you back on because it's been like 4 years. You were on it like 4 or 5 years ago, like crazy. So we need to have you back on too. I'm on YouTube as well with different content over there, talking about money and all that kind of stuff and marriage. And then the book, find it anywhere. It's called What Do You Really Want by Cayla Craft. And I'm actually doing a giveaway right now. So anybody who buys the book, if you just tag me on social when you get it, you'll be entered in to win a cash drawing. I'm picking the winner at the end of the month.
Amazing. Awesome. Yeah, we'll put all of those details below. Thank you so much, Cayla. Everybody listening, watching, make sure that you go and follow Cayla on Instagram. She's such an inspiration. She's gonna make you feel like you have the balls to make more pivots and make more great decisions in your life to help you get what you really, really want. So thank you so much, Cayla. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.